Robert Hyde, Chair of the Historic Landmark Commission, is excused this evening and has asked that I, as the Vice Chair, conduct this meeting. So my name is Mike Villa, and I need to start this meeting by reading this declaration. I, Mike Villa, Vice Chair, the Salt Lake City Planning Division Historic Landmark Commission, hereby determined that conducting the Historic Landmark Commission meeting 4th of February 2021 at an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. The World Health Organization, the President of the United States, the Governor of Utah, Salt Lake County Health Department, Salt Lake County Mayor, and the Mayor of Salt Lake City have all recognized a global pandemic exists related to the new strain of the coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2. Due to the state of emergency caused by the global pandemic, I find that conducting the meeting at an anchor location under the current state of public health emergency constitutes a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at this location. So, good evening, everyone. This is the first time I'm chairing this meeting, so please forgive me if I make some missteps, but I'm trying very hard to follow the procedures order of business that's outlined in the Salt Lake City Historic Landmark Commission rules of procedure that we were given when we joined as commissioners. So I believe that because Mr. Hyde is not tonight, and certainly I don't have any report, we would move next to a report of the director or any designees.
Thank you. Yes, just one mention is earlier this week, Michaela sent out an email regarding conflicts of interest. And I just wanted to remind everybody to take a look at that email and make a note of it so that we do not end up in any sticky situations. What else? Was there anything else, John, that I needed to mention? Do you remember? I feel like that was it.
I don't think so. And just, you know, Commissioner DeLay is trying to get in. She emailed, so I sent her a couple links. So she's trying to get in on.
Okay. I will keep my eyes peeled in the attendee list in case she lands there first.
You know, just for point of reference, as someone that attends multiple committee meetings like this, it's super helpful to get an email reminder either the day of or the day before that has the link in it. It just makes it that much easier to find because, you know, after 48 hours, there's so many emails that it's hard to find one. And if one comes, you know, the morning of or a few hours before, it just simplifies it.
I hear you. We will make a note of that for next time. Marlene is out this week, so we were lacking a bit of our organizational guru for this meeting. So if there was a scramble at the last minute, please forgive us for that.
Very good. Molly, was there anything else?
Nope, that's it for a director's report. Thank you.
Very good. Then I think let's move to approval of the minutes of last month's meeting. Is there any discussion concerning those?
I'll move to approve. Richardson moves to approve.
Very good.
I'll second that approval.
All those who approve signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. The minutes as written for last month's meeting, I think 7th of January, have been approved. I don't have any direct comments to the commissioners. I believe that roll has already been taken so that we reached our quorum. Consideration of agenda items. There were only 2 items on the agenda this evening, but I think prior to getting into those,
I am
There
here.
are, go ahead.
This is Babs. I'm here. I couldn't find any links, so I just got in. Thank you.
Oh, very good. Babs, you have already been noted as being in attendance. Good evening,
Thank you.
certainly. I believe this is now the time for public comments. So the commission will hear public comments not pertaining to items listed on the agenda. Are there any public comments this evening?
Yes, there are. And John put a couple things, or put a link in your Dropbox to some links that Cindy Cromer wanted to share with you. She is also here, and I just unmuted her. Cindy, if you're there and would like to speak up, you may begin your public comments.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Sandy,
we
we
can.
can.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So if you were watching the Planning Commission meeting last week, they had a design review. They were doing design review of a new project because of the zoning, which required design review by the Planning Commission. But it could have been in front of you because the project is sank and it features the central warehouse on 2nd South, just west of the Gateway. And I wanted, if you were not aware of this project, to share it with you because it's very exciting. The central warehouse was a building that was considered as an alternative location for the farmers market. But before that, it was built by a business person named George Chandler. He was quite prominent. He built the warehouse in Salt Lake and he had enterprises in Bingham Canyon. He organized 2 banks in Utah. And what's so remarkable about this is that not only are they not demolishing the central warehouse, but they're not burying it in the new construction either. It's actually featured quite prominently, much like Slack Winburn's building on at the Violin School Commons, formerly the Northwest Pipeline building, is featured in that development. I'm really excited. I think the Planning Commission was stunned to hear me talk for 2 minutes without saying something derogatory. There is a mid-block pathway. The historic building is featured. The story of George Chandler and his accomplishments will live on, and I have high hopes for the mattress factory on the RDA property to the south, which was the work of the Eberhards years ago, more successful business people. And I think it's important that we note that the economic development of Salt Lake City was more than just the Kearns, the Eccles, and the Bambergers' efforts. Thanks very much.
Very good. Thank you, Cindy. It was good to hear, and also it was good to see this action by the Planning Commission. Thank you. Molly, are there any other public comments not pertaining to tonight's agenda? Molly, I think you might be on mute.
Sorry. Yes, sorry. I don't see any hands raised within the WebEx portal, and I'll just remind anyone listening in, if you're interested in participating in the public hearing, there is a small icon that looks like little fingers pointing upwards and a hand. If you click on that, we can recognize you, or you can send a message through the Q&A and we can try and get your comments in that way. Or you can also send an email to our historic landmarks comments email, and we can read it into the record. And that email address is historiclandmarks with an S, all one word, .comments with an S at slcgov.com.
Very good.
So I think we can move on to the first item.
Very good. So next we'll move into the public hearing. My understanding are there's 2 items for discussion in this evening's meeting. Both of them have been in front of the commission previously. And so let me turn the time over to you for the discussion concerning the first project is the landscape alterations at approximately 1362 East Harvard Avenue.
Sorry about that. I thought I was unmuted and then I was muted. So, I'm Nelson Knight. I'm one of the senior planners for historic preservation. There are some new members who may have not have seen me before. I'm relatively new myself. That's where I fit into the whole equation here. This is a case at 1362 Harvard Avenue. You saw it at your November 5th, 2020 meeting. And at that meeting, you tabled the proposal. The original issue, there we go. This building is part of the Harvard Heights Historic District, which runs from 13th to 15th East, basically along Harvard Avenue. It's in the larger Yale Crest Historic District, which is a National Register Historic District. This particular building is typical of those kinds of structures that were built in the neighborhood. A revival of it's a Tudor revival structure, fairly sizable. It was one of the first planned subdivisions. It was actually a streetcar subdivision, and the design of the landscape was set out in the plat itself for the larger subdivision. Here's a before photo of the house. What you saw last meeting was this. The background on this briefly is that the homeowners and their representatives obtained administrative approvals for a large amount of renovation work, principally in the backyard, but also on the house itself. But neglected to, when it came to the landscaping of the front yard, neglected to attain the certificate of appropriateness for the landscaping and the front wall there, which you can see in the slide there. When this came back, or when it came initially to the Landmark Commission, the discussion mainly, well, this was the motion that Commissioner Richardson passed, and the design objectives are on the screen. At that point, the recommendation from staff was to a negative recommendation on the wall that had already been built. From that meeting discussion, the discussion focused primarily on the wall's purpose of redirecting water runoff from the applicant's front yard onto the adjacent front sidewalk. You can see in the photo there on the right that there's a little dip in the sidewalk. And then water also tends to drain off into the neighborhood to the west. There's a pretty substantial east to west grade change there. It's a little hilly there, so the runoff has in the past come off the front yard and pooled up in the sidewalk and then ran down into the neighbor's driveway. So another issue that you all talked about was how can they add landscaping to the existing landscaping that would keep the character of the front yards, which is generally gently sloping grassy lot coming from the sidewalk up to the front of the house, and that's typical of the neighborhood. So they went away with the comments that you had and came back with a proposal. This is kind of an explanation of the water dynamics that are going on here. This was pre-renovation, and the applicant's representative, Annie Schwimmer, will be able to explain this more in depth. But what they found when they started the renovation was that the house had receded about 7 inches from the one on your screen on the site plan to 2, and most of that was because of runoff and water settling over the course of the years. They dealt with it through a number of ways. You can see there the area, the puddling there that was happening on the sidewalk. Their general area again where it was puddling, it would freeze in the winter. It was a safety issue. This is how their thinking was when they did the overall design of the project. So the water from the backyard is moving through some arranged channels, the driveway, and another retaining wall on that west property line toward the front, and then the wall at the front of the property line was serving as kind of a collector that then funnels the water down toward the northwest corner of the property there. And then the blue line there, there's more in your staff report, but that's the new sewer line that came in. There was a concern that was because a lot of this water is moving underground. It may undermine the sewer line and cause some damage to the roadway possibly. So through kind of a series of circumstances, this all wasn't fully realized without getting the proper permitting. We're back here now. This sums up their proposal as to how to deal with it. So the most important thing is that they plan to remove the existing sidewalk there that has the little dip in it, and they're going to re-pour it. That would move the sidewalk up about 5 inches, and we'll take the dip out so that the wall that is there will be slightly shorter than it is. One of the things that was discussed in the commission was ways to kind of mitigate the effect of that wall and still have some green there to keep the spirit and the overall historic condition of the landscape all along the streetscape there. So they are proposing to plant an evergreen euonymus creeping ground cover at the base of the wall that will then go up over the wall and hide that. And then in that corner area where there's been drainage and runoff, typically they'll be planting another kind of shrub, another euonymus shrub. These are the drawings that were provided also in your staff report. You can see what they're calling the elevated French drain, the wall, or the structure there, and then you can see how the sidewalk will be raised a little bit. It'll lower the height of the wall by about 5 inches. Hopefully the greenery will cover the rest, and overall we think that given what is going on here. There are examples of other retaining walls that are similar throughout the neighborhood. And so this is a way to mitigate the effect while still dealing with the drainage issues and not requiring the applicants to completely remove the wall. So our recommendation here would be that the revised proposal now meets the objectives of the applicable standard, and it mitigates our previous finding that the project did not meet the design standards that were applicable. And so consequently, we would recommend that the Historic Landmark Commission approve the certificate of appropriateness for the landscaping. It says proposed here, it's already been installed. There will be some additions here as I've already gone over. It's fairly well realized. There aren't a whole lot of concepts left to resolve here, but we would suggest that if there are any additional refinements that need to be made, that the staff would, or the commission would delegate the final approval to staff for that.
Very
That's my
good.
presentation. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Mr. Knight, I had a single question with the little section that you showed at the wall itself that is parallel to Harvard Avenue. Does the French drain turn east, or were they trying to have the additional planting material serve as that purpose?
The additional, you might want to ask the applicant's representative for exact details. It's my understanding that the wall, it already does turn a little bit. Some of their drawings show that they would extend that, but it's not in their description. So
Okay.
Check with them.
Very good. Commissioners, any comments or questions to Mr. Knight? Hearing none, let's move to, are there any comments and additional information by the applicant that wants to be made?
Annie Schwemmer is here from Renovation Design Group. Annie?
Hi, yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm not sure I quite understood the question about the wall turning to the east. The wall itself runs east and west. We have kind of a return on the west end that turns south a little bit. We are not planning to extend that. But if you want to clarify your question, maybe I can talk more.
Well, it's just, yes, thank you, Annie. Just looking at the section on page, anyway, section 1, there's a new stone elevated French drain, or that's the way it's noted. I think what you really mean is that there's a wall there. Does that wall turn and go east just a tiny bit? Would that be, maybe an inch or two above grade? That's the thinking, or is the wall just east-west only?
So you could see it in one of those photos that Nelson had. Let me see what page that was on. Let's see. Yeah, right there. You can see that it turns south
Okay.
toward the house just for like 2 feet, but it does not extend above grade. It
Fair
would
enough.
just kind of mitigate that corner.
Very good, thank you.
Hey, Molly, Gary Fuller is in the attendee list and said that he could provide information about the drain if you wanted to make him a panelist.
Go ahead, Gary, if you could introduce yourself, and you can unmute yourself.
Okay, Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
So my name is Gary Fuller. I'm the landscape contractor that Joe and Joan hired to install this whole thing. Just a quick explanation to answer your question on the drainages. So there's actually 2 French drainages in that front yard, and that wall is basically mitigating any sort of overflow that might occur with those 2 French drainages. And then there's also a French drain that runs directly behind and abuts the rear of the wall. So there's basically a 3-stop process in mitigating any water from returning or undermining the city sidewalk anymore. So if that helps answer your question, we've got most of that water trapped behind the wall. In the event both of those drains do get hit the point of critical mass, then they will bleed out, hit the back of the wall, and then everything will move to the west end. And there's a substantial drain underneath that little small return. It's basically just an old school cobblestone drain to mitigate any sort of further erosion. So it's a pretty involved commercial style drain that we've got out there because it is carrying the water from essentially the entire property, the backyard as well.
Understood.
Mike, I've got a question, please.
Certainly.
How will you irrigate the shrubbery to get it established and maintain it?
So we already have a drip system established and stubbed up in front of that wall. The plan was always to plant in front of that wall. However, because of the stop order, we had to freeze the project and we weren't able to proceed with the planting. So that was always our original intention, was to plant and mute that wall and blend it into the surrounding landscape.
Okay, thank you.
And just, Kenton, so you understand how that's going to work. So because it's going to be such a benign amount of planting, it's not going to require enough water to where that irrigation for those plants is going to in any way, shape, or form affect the sidewalk or the wall down the road.
Okay, makes sense. And I would guess as they're established, they'll require even less.
Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments?
I think the report said this, but they're evergreen planting, so it'll look decent during the winter time.
Yeah, this is Gary again. Hi. So what we have spec there is all those are evergreen. So the Colorado Winter Creeper is a ground cover that also will rise up and attach to the wall over time. And then we've got euonymus, greenbrier euonymuses for that far western corner of the wall where that small return is. So that'll mute that west side return.
Will that grow up over the wall and start to cover the top of the wall as well?
The euonymus is a shrub, so that's going to get approximately 3 feet tall and probably about a 2.5 to 3 foot spread. We could put, like what we do in those corners, a lot of times we'll do a trilogy planting, so we'll do 3 to sort of blend that whole area in, so you just don't have this one sort of lonely shrub sitting out there looking like a little Charlie Brown tree. So, whatever we do in that corner, we'll make it so it's aesthetically appealing.
Very good. Commissioners, any other questions or comments?
Can I call for the question?
Yes, please.
I call for the question.
Commissioners, can I have a motion?
Just a point of information, this was advertised as a public hearing. Do we need to hold that public hearing?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, Mike, we got to open it up for public comment, and then we can go into executive session after that. And when we're in executive session, then we can make a motion. But
Very
first,
good.
the public get their 2 cents.
Very, very good. Thank you, Kenton. Then let's go ahead and do that. Please, let's open it up for public hearing.
Thank you. I believe I only have 4 people on the attendees list, 3 of whom are associated with the next item on the agenda, and the other is Cindy. Cindy, did you have any comments that you wanted to share on this item?
No, thank you.
Okay, then. Then you're,
Molly?
yes.
There were some, I think the commissioners received all of the public comment. We did receive some emails in support of this.
Yes, and they should have been put in the Dropbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did. Nelson and I did not see any negative comments. Everything was positive in the Dropbox.
That's correct.
Were those all from the last meeting on this? Because I don't see any in the current Dropbox. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place.
There were a couple in the included with the staff report.
Oh, okay.
If we need to fix that, I can work with John off screen to make that work, make the magic happen.
Yeah, the last email that we got was dated Tuesday the 26th. So regarding this item, so they should all be within in the staff report.
Very well. Now I believe it's appropriate to close the public meeting part of the meeting. And now it's, my understanding is now we move into staff discussion concerning this.
Yes. Or executive session.
Very good. Let's move into the executive session. Let me, Kenton, can I call on you? Is there any further conversation, comments that you would like to make on this?
No, thank you, Mike. I'm happy with what I've seen. I think this will solve the problem that we identified before as a reasonable solution and appropriate given the context of what's happening across the street and up and down that block. So I'm happy with this.
Very good. Jessica, can I ask you for a comment as well, please?
Agree, it's an appropriate solution.
Very good. I too, believe that this is an appropriate solution. Taking a look at what's, just as Kenton said, across the street and up and down the street, this isn't out of line and would not stick out. And I think the planting of the evergreen euonymus, both at the wall and at the west end of the wall, would be a nice complement to what's there. Can we entertain a motion at this time then?
Yeah, I can make a motion if I can find the sheet. Where did I put that? Motion sheet. Regarding PLNHLC 2020-00692, landscape alterations at approximately 1362 East Harvard Avenue. Based on the information in the staff report, the information presented, and the input received during the public hearing, I move that the commission approve the request for a certificate of appropriateness for site grading, landscaping, a stone veneer wall, and sidewalk replacement installed in the front yard as proposed in the petition. Further move that the commission direct planning staff to work with the petitioner to find a front yard landscape design that will meet the standards and delegate administrative approval to staff for the final decision.
Very good. Thank you, Kenton. Do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Was that Jessica? Thank you. Any further discussion? I believe it's time now to vote. All those in the affirmative?
Yeah, Mike, you probably have to do a roll call for this one.
All right, very good. All right, thank you. So Babs Delay,
I approve, yes.
very good. John Iwanowski,
No.
Aiden Lilly,
I'm sorry, I joined late. Do I have to recuse myself from
all right. Jessica,
Aye.
Kenton,
Aye.
David Richardson,
Aye.
and Mike Phillip, aye.
Mike, you don't vote.
Yeah, you get to
Hmm.
abstain. You get to
Uh,
as a tiebreaker.
Learn something every day. Thank you. So it feels like that we have one no, 3 ayes, and 1 abstention.
Mm.
Is that correct?
See, yeah.
Well, then, my understanding then is that with the 3 votes in the affirmative,
Should be 4 in the affirmative.
Mm.
Babs, David, Jessica, Kenton.
Okay.
John was a no, and Aiden
was not
was
voting.
abstention. Yep.
All right. So given that vote of 4 to 1, my understanding, Molly, is that then this would pass. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you.
Very, very good. Thank you, commissioners.
And thank
All
you
right.
to our applicant.
Yes, and there is a small thing you need to read about appeals and so on. You may have to dig through the cheat sheets on the Dropbox.
Yeah, on the Dropbox in the root folder, there's a chair cheat sheet.
Could I make a generic comment?
Mm.
Oh, it's not in that one though.
Certainly.
I just wanted to say that I love when this happens, when we work with applicants and applicants are willing to work with us, and it just makes the process so much better. And I want to applaud the applicant for going the extra mile. Thank you.
Well, I'll pile onto that, Babs. You know, as an architect, we make mistakes, and a lot of other professionals make mistakes. And I love to say that doctors bury their mistakes, and we grow ivy on ours.
I was waiting for that one, David. Nicely played.
Can
Mike,
I use that one? I don't know what we would say in real estate.
If you put paint on it. Is that appropriate, Babs?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, but the paint better not be over brick in the historical district.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but it could cover the 1978 lead-based paint. Anyway.
Mr. Chair, I believe the appeal statement that Mr. Richardson was referring to is at the end of the agenda. Or the last thing on the agenda. I suppose anyone could read it.
Yes,
I could read it since
sir.
it's in front of me.
I'm here, I'll just read it in. Anyone who has
Very good.
adversely affected, anyone who is an adversely affected party as defined by Utah Code Section 10-9A-103 may appeal a decision of the Historic Landmarks Commission by filing a written appeal with the appeals hearing officer within 10 calendar days following the date on which a record of decision was issued. The applicant may object to the decision, which is unlikely, of the Historic Landmarks Commission by filing a written appeal with the appeals hearing officer within 30 calendar days following the date on which it was acted. So.
Very good. Thank you, David.
I didn't realize it was the end of the agenda. Thanks, Molly.
No, I was looking for it feverishly in the rules of procedures, so
Yeah.
thank you. Very good. All right. Item number 1 is done. Now it is, I believe, time to move into item number 2, Saxon Bartlett edition at approximately 732 East, 200 South. Molly?
Kelsey, please take it away.
Okay. Just one moment. All right, perfect. Everybody can see the screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Good evening. The property owners of 732 East, 200 South, as you saw last month, they are requesting a major alteration and special exception approvals for a new rear addition to the subject property. And actually, before I move into the presentation, staff was informed this afternoon that about some changes to the plans. And the plans that are proposed to be changed were the ones analyzed in the staff report and included in this presentation. Staff has not had a chance to review the requested changes. As such, staff is not providing a recommendation on the proposal. The Historic Landmark Commission can approve the proposal with the changes if findings can be made, or the commission can table the item for additional information. So at this time, I will go through the presentation, which includes the plans that analyzed within the staff report. The requested addition is approximately 778 square feet in size and 22 feet 9 inches in height at the tallest point. The property is a contributing structure on the Freeze Mansion landmark site and is located in the RMF 45 zoning district. The exceptions include a 6-foot reduction of the required interior side yard setback of 10 feet on the west, a 10-foot 4-inch reduction of the required 18-foot 9-inch rear yard, and an 8-inch reduction for the required setback of 4 feet between an accessory structure and a principal structure. This is an aerial of the subject property. As illustrated, the small cottage is located behind the main mansion, which faces 200 South. The following 2 slides are photos of the existing structure, the north elevation and east elevation, south and east, as well as the west. The site plan on the left illustrates the existing site plan. The dashed line near the center of the structure indicates where the 1950 addition starts. The site plan on the right illustrates the proposed addition. The 2 red boxes indicate the yard encroachments associated with the special exception request. The north elevation of the existing structure is approximately 18 feet 9 inches in height, and the addition extends to a height of 20 feet 9 inches on this elevation. The 2-story addition starts approximately 25 feet to the south of the primary elevation. The hip roof portion of the rear addition, which is visible, extends to the east approximately 3 feet 5 inches, with an additional 7 feet for a deck. Additionally, the western portion extends 3 feet, resulting in a 4-foot side yard setback. The top image is the proposed east elevation. The east elevation gradually increases in height along the existing grade to reach a height of 22 feet 4 inches. The architect has created a linking feature in the roofing material that connects the historic structure and the contemporary addition. Excuse me. This elevation extends above the existing roof line by 3 feet 7 inches. The proposed west elevation extends beyond the wall plane of the existing structure by 3 feet. This elevation contains 2 vertically stacked gable roofs, which aid in minimizing the scale and massing of the addition. And the height on this elevation ranges between 22 feet 3 inches to 22 feet 9 inches. The south elevation extends beyond the established building footprint of the existing structure. The applicant is requesting to construct a cantilevered second story that extends into the rear yard setback. The cantilevered portion would create a covered carport in the rear for off-street parking. The rear of the extension is a gabled roof, which matches the gabled roof to the east. Additionally, the western portion of the southern elevation indents to the north, and that is to accommodate an existing accessory structure. These are the renderings provided by the architects. Okay. The design of the addition is differentiated from the historic structure by the linking feature, which is integrated into the roof, as well as the proposed materials. The applicant is proposing to clad the addition in a cementitious lap siding, which is they're requesting 1 foot in width. The existing siding is fairly narrow, so the two will be distinctly different from one another. The design of the addition does integrate some characteristics of the small cottage structure while creating some contemporary features to create a product of its own time. The additional key considerations which are identified on page 13 and 14 of the staff report include alterations to a Salt Lake City landmark site and the height and scale of the proposed addition. I did include the floor plans just for reference if you'd like to explore those during the discussion. I can answer any questions at this time.
Kelsey, I did have a question. From what you've just presented, are there modifications to this that you said that you've not reviewed those yet?
Yeah.
Should we wait until we hear from the applicant to hear what those requested modifications are, or do you know what those are?
I believe they're primarily affecting the east elevation, but Wayne Gordon is planning on going into those.
Okay, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioners, any discussion or any questions for Kelsey?
Nope.
Right, hearing none, should we hear from the applicant now, please?
Okay, that must be my cue. Okay, I'm not seeing myself, but I guess you guys can see me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, and Kelsey, instead of sending materials again, she's got the staff reports, so gonna let her drive on the plans. You still don't mind doing that, Kelsey, do you? Let me go right to the proposed modification. If you could go to the second floor plan. Okay, there's our existing. I should be doing the scroll music. Okay, that's good. Good right there. Just up a little further. And talking with the applicant to lay out their plan, if you could go up just a little further.
Other way.
Other way. There we go. That's perfect. You can see on the bottom there at the sitting room that it's dimensioned as 15 feet 8 for our total dimension. Talking with our client, getting that room laid out, they'd like to get that east wall, if that could move another 6 inches, so that 15 foot 8 would be 16 foot 2. So that is the that is the modification. That adds 16 square feet to the addition, which bumps our site coverage from 45% to 45.5%. So we're still way under the 60% coverage in there. And if you can go to the south elevation. Here we go. So, right, if you all look at the south elevation up at the upper right, you see our roof pitch 12.4. So that east wall would move 6 inches. I tried doing a sketch on tracing paper to show Kelsey to see what we were talking about, and it was not very perceivable. We could certainly modify these drawings for you, but that's the change we were talking about, was sliding that wall over just a little bit.
Wayne, would that be basically in line then with the north volume there?
If you,
So there wouldn't be a jog?
or no, we would still have a jog. And that jog, that's just a couple inches to get us a shadow line. And if you look at the north elevation, what's the right side of that trim board, or what's the left side of the trim board would be the right side.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So like I say, I tried to trace it, but it was pretty imperceptible. If you go back to the south elevation real quickly and see that appendage to the south, the ridge or the roof will still stay below that east-west portion. Barely even moves. That would have been one of my concerns with making that piece wider, is that ridge suddenly spoken up above the other ridge, but it stays below that. So our the ridge line on the front on the north elevation, that won't change at all. And that's essentially the aforementioned change.
All right, very good. Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Gordon?
Yeah, did you consider taking that back volume and making it even bigger?
Whoops. You could say that again. You were coming in a little soft there.
I'm sorry. I'm looking.
There we go.
And I like the way that the south volume, that addition over the carport, is subservient to the main volume of your addition. But just out of curiosity, as you looked at making it larger and pushing that volume eastward, did you look at unapologetically moving it even farther?
We actually can't move it farther. The east edge of the balcony is at the east setback.
I got it.
You move it any farther, then it'll make that balcony too small to use.
Gotcha.
What is the intended use of this addition?
It is, it will give them a actual master bedroom, or main bedroom. Sorry, we're using main bedroom now. Masters are gone. That's outdated. The main bedroom, it's a, it is a compact house right now, so that will actually give a little more living space. Main bedroom, main bath, and then a sitting area up there. Also, if you are, this COVID, y'all aren't doing the field trips in the van anymore, are you? It's too bad, because now that this lot is basically an island surrounded by apartments. And if you're at ground level, you get nice views of covered parking structures. There's sitting room upstairs there off the main bedroom. They'll actually be able to look out the windows and see mountains and not parking structures. So the addition, the 50s addition we're replacing, I went up in there and had looked out the window to see, and it's quite different between the main and upper level.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we get these clients, they don't want to look at parking structures. I don't know. But
I have a question on that piece. I'm a little skeptical of that piece of roof that's basically over the old part of the house that's rendered here as a metal standing seam being on plane with a shingle roof. Can you talk about that a bit? I'm skeptical of the details there, and I've worked with enough roofing manufacturers to know that that'll be a tricky detail to get them to warranty.
and that one was, we thought if we could give a nod, at least in schematic design, what you see as shingle on that east elevation was the original cottage. And when they built the 1950s edition, they just turned that little pyramid roof and extended back. So we thought, oh, if we could give an homage to the original roof, but we have in office kind of been thinking out loud on the detailing and have second guessed ourselves. So if the commission feels that you might want to keep that, it's existing shingles right now. So that might have been a let's get a little too fancy here, but
Right. I'm not suggesting anything, but I'm just wondering if that's a little bit ambitious, maybe. But
Yeah, I'm with you, John. It's really an executive session thing, but as long as we're onto it, I don't see a reason that this linkage feature needs to be definitive. I think it could just blend with whatever the architect decides to use.
agreed.
well,
Yeah, John, you beat me to it because I was thinking the same thing, and I think, quite frankly, the you know, making it as different as it looks here might be problematic, and I'm with you. The detailing, Mr. Gordon, of how that metal and the shingles and the composition would actually physically work might be a little bit tricky.
if we get to the end of the week and we've got a few tricky details to still work out, I think we're amenable to keeping it as shingles.
I appreciate the intent, though. I think it's cool, at least on paper.
And yeah, it's one of those things when going from schematic design to construction documents, you discover a few details there and kind of go back. But if we, and from talking a little bit with with Jan and Nancy here, I think they would be amenable to keeping that as shingles also. So if Kelsey will let me drive to work that little Sharpie again, I can change it right here for you.
Live red lines. Spectator sport.
So, commissioners, are there any other comments or questions for Mr. Gordon? Hearing none, can we move into executive session then, please? I think we can start out.
Can open the public hearing.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Molly. Next, we move into public hearing. And you're correct, Molly. You had indicated there were at least 3 that you were aware of on the public side.
Hold on, I just lost my participant list. Where did it go?
Hey, Molly, currently in the attendee list, it's just Cindy Cromer.
Okay, sorry. I'm only working with one screen, so I had to close the attendee list so I could see the whole screen. Cindy, are you interested in commenting on this item?
No, thank you.
Okay, as Cindy was the only participant and or only person on the attendee list, I don't see anyone else there. We do not have any new emails to the Historic Landmarks comments email address. So you can go ahead and close the public hearing.
Very good. Let's go ahead and close the public hearing and then move into the executive session. Commissioners, any comments?
I just want to start off by saying that I am recusing myself from this.
That's Jessica.
Yes.
Very good. A couple of comments. Looking at the north elevation, I appreciate the fact that the materials are the same, but the sizes of the materials, so it's very clear to delineate between the original cottage and the expansion. And at the same time, that the expansion, seems respectful to the original. And so, Mr. Gordon, I appreciate the fact that from the ground floor, the users of this house would be looking into adjacent parking structures, and that the second floor is the place to be. So I think it's well done. Thank you. So Babs, any comments concerning this?
Commissioner DeLay, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah, I've got the motion sheet queued up.
Okay.
All right, very well.
Hey, commissioners, in your motion, would you, because Mr. Gordon presented some modifications to the design. So if you're looking to approve, would you make sure that those modifications are mentioned?
Yes.
John, yeah, I've got that figured out. Thanks.
Okay, great.
Yeah. This is a motion to approve, which is consistent with staff recommendation. Commissioner Richardson moves that based on the analysis and findings listed in the staff report, information presented, and the input received during our brief public hearing, I move that the commission approve petition PLNHLC 2019-1088, the request for certificate of appropriateness for an addition to a contributing structure, and PLNHLC 2019-1151, the associated special exceptions for the addition, with the following condition. Condition 1, that the final details, including modifications to the footprint of the plan, this major addition, be delegated to staff. And condition 2 is that a lot consolidation application must be submitted to the planning division prior to receiving your certificate of appropriateness. Thank you.
Very good. Is there a second?
Sorry, I missed the part. It was just really soft. I missed condition 1 and 2.
Well, condition 2 is as written. Condition
Okay.
1, that final details, including changes to the footprint of the major alteration, be delegated to staff. We think you'll do a good job there, Kelsey.
I will second. Iwanowski.
Yeah, and John, in the discussion section here, before we call for the vote, I'm going to say that I feel comfortable with the delegating to staff, because the building code is going to dictate a lot of things here. And so, there's very little possibility of this getting a lot bigger. And I feel very comfortable that the staff will do a good job. Thank you.
Very well. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call to vote. Babs DeLay,
Aye.
John Iwanowski,
Yes.
Robert Hyde, excuse me, he's not here. Aiden Lilly,
Yes.
Jessica, you had, you're not voting on this one. Kenton
Yes.
Peters,
Aye.
and David Richardson.
Aye.
I believe this is 5 votes in the affirmative with 1 person abstaining. Motion passes.
Thanks. Wayne here. Can I say one more thing?
Well,
Certainly.
first of all, thank you, Wayne. Good job.
Thank you all of y'all. Just want to say hey to Cindy Cromer. We'd be seeing her in person if we were all there in the room, and can't see her. So hey, Cindy. She's still there?
Oh.
Well, Cindy would be on mute at the moment in the attendee list, so
Okay.
I'm sure she can hear you.
She can hear that. And hey, Nelson also. It's been too long.
Yeah.
Hey, Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah. Good to see you. Just don't tell him about Pittsburgh.
Never.
And Mr. Chair, if you
And
could
to
just
the
read that
commission
appeal.
members, can you, this is,
I'm sorry, Molly, you had a comment?
If you could just read that appeal statement at the end of the agenda regarding the final
Yes, I
item.
can.
Cool, thanks.
Yes,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Why is it required to read the appeal? Mind you, I was a planning commissioner for 8 years and we never read an appeal or mentioned that sort of thing during any planning commission hearing. So why is it necessary here that an obvious thing can happen? Just educate me here.
Because we're just thoughtful people, man. We want to make people feel good about all this. No, good question. I don't know. I'm being facetious, of course.
We like to add more process, Babs. That's what we do.
Yeah, and I'm known for making meetings move.
Maybe we should have Paul explain this one.
Yeah. Why doesn't the planning commission do it too, and every other public body in the state of Utah?
No idea why my microphone hasn't been working on my earbuds. I've been trying to talk and talking to myself. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. It's absolutely not required. Thank you for asking the question. It's something that the commission's been doing for years out of habit. I've mentioned several times it's not required. You could do it if you want. That's up to you. Don't need to do it.
So the chair could say something as simple as there is an appeals process. It's here on the agenda. Blah, blah,
The chair doesn't need to say anything. The public, the applicants and the public are charged with the knowledge of the law. Even though that, may seem unusual, but they are charged with knowing what they need to do if they want to appeal this. We don't have to tell anybody. It's just habit.
Well,
Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
perhaps I'm absolutely in line with making it simpler, shorter. That if indeed it is, Paul, like you had just indicated, that it is on the agenda, and it is, and that if indeed there is someone that is adversely affected, this is the procedure and the policy that they can go back with. So I'm absolutely fine with not including this, or including this on the agenda, but not having to read this for each one of the items. Tonight, fortunately, we just had 2 items on an evening where we have, I don't know, 6 or 7, 8 items. It's just adding to the length of the meeting.
Right.
I'm not for that. So then I won't read that. And Paul, thank you very much. And I appreciate it. Now, my understanding, Molly, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we've gone through the 2 items. There's not any other item that we need to discuss this evening.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. This is your opportunity to be chair, so I'm going to call you Mr. Chair.
Well, let me just say that there's no one here more than I that will welcome Mr. Hyde back to this meeting. It was a good experience, and so I've checked it on my box, so I feel good now. Hearing that there's no other agenda items, I would move that we close the meeting this evening. Thanking everyone for their participation, and good evening. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone.
See all y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next month.
You.
personally find that the commission is actually going to help bring about that meaningful change that's needed?
I think so. We have a lot of highly skilled, dedicated, level-headed people